So it's been 100 years of Disney, and Wish is very much a celebration of that, from its style, title of the movie, and many, many references to Disney's past. But where I get the need to celebrate, you also must write a deep and meaningful story. Before this film was even out, it has been slated massively for its very interesting animation style, its possible AI creating music, and not understanding the true magic of what makes Disney very special. Wish is a film that was highly anticipated, and while it is trying to do some good, unfortunately, it doesn't do it in the best way. Hi there, it's me, the Average Critic, and let's talk about Wish, a film I wish didn't exist. Before I do start this review, there are of course spoilers ahead, so you have been warned, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more great content. Let's start with Wish's characters, which are generic and bland. Asha is fine as a leader, but she has no personality to speak of. We never get a real reason to follow her as a protagonist. To put it simply, she is plain and boring. I've already spoken about the quirky modern-day princess in my Tangled review, but in this movie, Asha is kinda quirky, but she doesn't really commit to it. I can't really tell you a single character trait about her. We have no reason to follow her because we know nothing about her. She has no arc, her dreams are all for selfish reasons. She wants the kingdom to be happy, she wants her grandfather to have his wish granted. The problem with being selfless is, it's boring. I wanted Asha to have a selfish wish that only mattered to her. We have seen this a million times in other Disney films. Rapunzel wanted to see the lanterns, Hercules wanted to feel accepted, Aladdin wants to be rich. It's okay to have selfish dreams. If you asked me if I could either have world peace or be the richest person in the world, I know which one I would pick. The only character with a shed of personality is Magnifico, but even then it's kinda not enough. I think the only reason Magnifico even has some entertainment value to him is because Chris Pine is just having a lot of fun with this character. But even as a villain, he's just kind of average at best. He's got nothing on the humor and likability of Hades from Hercules, or even the depth of evil of someone like Mother Gothel from Tangled. As for the rest, characters are all forgetful and they don't ever have some time to shine. Even her group of friends, who are apparently based on all these 7 dwarfs from Snow White, are just background characters you don't care for. They have no personality because their personalities aren't even theirs. They're shadows of former characters, and so they're never really given their own character. Not even Alan Tudyk's performance as Valentino the Goat could save this movie because the jokes barely land. For the record, Alan Tudyk is one of my favourite actors ever, and he has become a staple at Disney, acting in every film since 2012. He has had some massive roles in Disney, and he is one of the most gifted voice actors ever, but it feels like Disney were relying on him to be funny when they realised they also have to write funny material, because wow, his jokes do not land. I mean, the most amazing example of this is of course Genie from Aladdin. Robin Williams truly was lightning in a bottle for that movie. He steals the entire film, and it is incredibly hard to replicate that. But even in that movie, the genie is integral to the plot and is given an emotional arc. But Valentino is here for nothing but laughs, and when he can't really do that well, he's kind of pointless. But as much as I do love Alan Tudyk, he isn't a comedian, and so I don't think it's on him when really the script could have just been written better. I will admit that Star is incredibly adorable, and I absolutely loved this personality and character. Leave it to Disney to make a non-speaking character funny and adorable, because they always do that incredibly well. The music is probably the most disappointing thing in this movie. Look, I have seen a lot of Disney musicals, and a lot of musicals in general, and the music in this film is bland and it sounds all the same. The only song that actually stands out to me is This Is the Thanks I Get, because it's actually trying to be its own song and it sounds individual. It sounds like an actual Disney musical number and it sounds nothing like the rest of the score. Now look, I know I am very biased as modern music, it's not my style, but Julia Michaels and Benjamin Rice did the musical songs for this film, and I can't help but think that they are massively wrongfully hired to do this film. Disney musical films are musicals, which is why the best ones hire musical theatre style background artists, composers who compose music for musicals, not pop music. You never saw the famous Sherman Brothers writing pop songs. There is nothing generally wrong with the songs in this movie, but these people are clearly mishired for this project, and I just can't help but think that if they actually got someone who is good at writing music for musicals, then this film would be so much better. There is nothing wrong with having the famous belty show tune song. They are the staple of Disney that have been around for years. Take Moana as a very brilliant modern example. Sure, it has the strong, impactful song with the meaning of the story, But in between that, you have songs like this.
What can I say except you're welcome?
And even this.
I'd rather be shining.
It just breaks the whole story up, giving the film a better pace and style. With Wish, every song is the giant belty show tune, and I yearned for songs like In Summer from Frozen or I've Got a Dream from Tangled to break it apart. From the moment we saw the animation of this film, it has been talked about a lot, and while it's not as awful as perhaps we wanted it to be, it's not the most amazing thing to look at either. I love that it wants to blend 2D and computer animation, as we have seen this been done many times before brilliantly in films like Atlantis and Treasure Planet. But where those films were 2D with small portions of computer animation, Wish of course kinda does the opposite, with 2D style backgrounds with fully rendered CGI characters. But I've gotta be honest, it doesn't look particularly nice. It just makes the characters stand out, and not in a good way. When we get closer shots and it's mainly CGI, it does look good, but some of those wide shots are very odd and it makes it look like some cheap kids TV show or even a badly done pantomime. It upsets me because this film apparently was originally going to be traditionally 2D, which is something I personally would have loved, but they said the excuse was that 2D animation has too many limitations, which in my opinion...
that is one big pile of shit.
Wish is a massive nod to the films that Disney have done in the past, with references quite literally scattered throughout. But while some films would prefer to keep those references subtle, Wish, it really doesn't do that. Every reference is completely obvious and not in a good way, some of which becoming very predictable, but while it is trying to give all the nods to the other films, it forgets to give its own film story and personality. You see, if everything is going to reference something else, how can you expect me to care about the characters in front of me? I was constantly taken out of the story because I was told that Ash's grandfather is 100 years old, and Magnifico is killing Peter's dreams about never growing up, or a bear calling a deer Bambi.
Coincidence? I think not!
Everything just feels so safe. Thinking that references galore gives you the story humor, to a comedic sidekick whose jokes do not land, and a lead role that is incredibly basic in her personality. Look, I get what Wish is trying to do, but it almost feels unnecessary. We have a wonderful celebration of Disney in Once Upon a Studio. Wish just needed to concentrate on telling their own story and messages that resemble what Disney have always represented. Walt Disney himself always cared about characters, and Wish unfortunately falls flat with that. I don't even think it's a case of this film not being for me, because even films like Encanto, while that film necessarily isn't my style, I 100% appreciate it. Wish isn't for anyone because everything is just kinda safe and boring. So after all that, it gets my professional rating of 5 out of 10. And my personal rating of 4 out of 10. There are references in this galore, and you know what, if you're just enjoying that part, then sure, it's an enjoyable thing. I did actually enjoy the credits, as we did get to see a countdown of all of our favourite Disney films, but they just didn't need to do that. We have a wonderful celebration of 100 years of Disney with Once Upon a Studio, and that was enough for me. So thank you for joining me in this video. Let me know in the comments section, what did you think of Wish, as I really didn't want this film to be bad. I wanted to enjoy it, but I unfortunately couldn't, but maybe I'm just being a grumpy old man. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more great content on all things animation films, and be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you so much for watching me, guys, and I will see you all in the next one.